its roots are definitely there. And they're off. So here we go. Matrick and RedsToad both starting out here. They are very well synced already. And of course, we got to talk about the outfits. Let's take a moment on the outfits. First of all, the way that this game's platforming works is that you're able to drop off of a ledge and still jump. You can jump once at this point, but instead of just jumping off the ground, you may fall off of a ledge and then jump. Basically, the game just restores your jump every time you touch the ground, as opposed to checking if you're on the ground when you want to jump. And it makes for some really interesting platforming that you'll see right away here. Now the players also have their weapon, and they are able to fight, and there will be enemies. But like right here, to cover that distance, you gotta drop down, then jump up. Drop down, then jump up. Covers a little bit more distance. It's like Diddy Kong from Diddy Kong Country. Ba-boom. So right away, down here, you gotta drop down and then like avoid some spikes by jumping. You can see all the different ways right away that the game teaches you. It's really, really important that you know that you can do this. You can jump this way. So that's like a huge core mechanic of the game, and we're gonna see it used in a even more interesting way right here. So here's a conving. The players aren't going to kill it. Instead, they're going to stand right here and whoop! What they're going to do there is they let the conving hit them, because when you get hit in this game, you kind of get popped up about a foot into the air. But like I said, when you try to jump, the game only restores your jump every time you hit the ground. So just like you can drop off of a ledge and jump, you can get popped up about a foot into the air by hitting an enemy and jump off of that, which allows you to damage boost and jump slightly higher than the level designer intended you to jump. And right there, they can skip a little bit of time by doing it. That was about a 5 to 10 second skip, but we will see some huge skips done by using damage boosting later. All right, so now they've gotten the flutter mechanic. What the flutter does is it's kind of like a Yoshi jump, where Yoshi, you know, kicks his legs and kind of gets a little bit of vertical momentum, but not quite like another jump. So it's more useful for horizontal movement, and where you'll see that right in the room that they got to afterward. But in all of the platforming from now on, what we're gonna find is that you have to figure out on all the jumps whether it's more better to flutter then jump, or to jump then flutter. It depends on the situation, and so every jump becomes, you know, a little assessment on how best to tackle it. And then, you know, of course, execution is pretty tough as well. So then, we get to the next portal here. There are these portals that, as you've been seeing, they just spawn enemies, and as you kill enemies, it reduces the health of the portal, which, on this one, they kind of did a little trick where they left and came back, getting it to spawn the first wave twice. That allows them to kind of pick and choose a little bit better which enemies that they defeat on the last wave, allowing them to have to only kill one less materializer, because they can be big trolls. And now both players are fighting Miyogi, so they are in sync here. Matrick, I believe, is Justin Timberlake, and RedsToad is Lance Bass, and they are fighting Miyogi. How she works is she has a shield up during her attacks, but after each of her attacks, she lets down the shield for a moment, allowing you to get one swing on her. So I mentioned that the players have all of the weapons unlocked, and the weapon that you'll see here is Sloth. It has a long wind-up and a long cooldown, but it hits very hard when it hits. So they use Sloth right there because since she only allows you to hit her once per attack, you want to hit her with the weapon that does the most damage in bulk. That Sloth, it gets through the fight in 3 attacks, as opposed to the default weapon, which gets through the fight in 6 attacks. Matrick missed that checkpoint and then had to go back for it, but didn't lose him too much time here. He is still ahead, but only slightly. Really, any mistake from Matrick could put RedsToad in the lead here. He's going for swag! Okay, he didn't get it, and oh wow! He recovered really well from that. So, I mean, I said he's going for swag, but actually, if he had hit that, it would have been a time save. So it's not 100% swag. It's just swag because it's like the newest thing that people are doing. It's the new thing. So now we get into some really fun platforming where the players can slide now, by the way. It's faster than running, so you'll see them making use of the slide as often as possible because it moves quickly. It also gets them through some tight gaps, but that part's pretty obvious. All right. So now they've got sliding, jumping, fluttering, and remember that you can jump after dropping off of a platform, so the platforming is getting pretty intense here. But the intensity will only increase as we go. Matrick is about to enter Pergora. So Pergora is the first real boss of the game. And the deal with Pergora is he doesn't have very much health. So as opposed to later bosses in the game, you can really tank this boss more than you can tank other bosses and deal a lot of damage to him. Matrick got very, very good RNG. If Pergora comes down and does that blood puke at you, it's easy to do a lot of damage to him, and it's difficult but possible to just kill him right on that attack. Matrick had a little bit of trouble, though, and actually fell off the platform and lost some time. RedsToad got that attack second. Also wasn't able to finish out the boss. Matrick actually died. So Pergora isn't the toughest boss in the world, but I mean, the thing is, if you fall off the platform and don't manage yourself perfectly, that's 20 damage and you only have 100 health. And if you fall off somewhere else, you die. And also, remember that these players aren't just trying to beat the boss, they're trying to use their health as a resource and tank as much as possible to just keep damage on the boss. Because, as I said, unlike other bosses, you can really tank this boss down if you do it just right. Matrick, unfortunately, didn't do it just right, ended up dying. So the next part of the game is called Falling. You fall through a bunch of stuff, and you really don't need to know what it's like because the speedrunners skip it. So I mentioned there's this whole thing about the game restoring your jumps when you touch the ground. I keep drilling this point. And what's very interesting about the checkpoint that they just passed up is that after Pergora, the game saves you mid-air. And it's the only time in the game that you get a checkpoint that's mid-air. And because of that, if you load another file of the game that has double jump available, spoilers, the game has double jump in it. Actually, it's not spoilers because Red just got double jump over on the right, so Red can double jump now. Anyway, you can actually reload that file. Because you didn't touch the ground, the game doesn't reassess your jumping situation and just lets you double jump. And you can actually double jump over the trigger that locks you into that area of the game and just completely bypass it. It saves, I don't know, a minute, but more importantly, it's a minute of like random weirdness that we're better off without as far as the speedrun is concerned. So now, they're making their way, Matrick is making his way to Electram while Red is fighting Electram. Big deal with Electram is that after fighting this boss, the players are going to have to backtrack back to town. And so what you might notice is that they're actually not even taking the checkpoints on the way to Electram. The reason is that instead of backtracking, after they beat Electram, they're just going to hit the reset key, because this game has a die button, so they're just going to hit the die button and death warp straight back to town, skipping all of the backtracking. What's really risky about it, though, is that you saw Matrick actually got hit by one of the orbs on the way, which dealt 35 damage to him. So he actually has to go into this boss now with 35 less health. He could have taken the checkpoint. If he wanted to be really safe, he could have taken the checkpoint in front of Electram, which would have refilled his health, and then he would have had to backtrack. Instead, he chose to go the more risky option, which is just to skip the checkpoint, beat the boss with 35 less HP. RedsToad finishes off Pika Dancer Dave, aka Electram, a little bit, with not much trouble, and skipped the checkpoint, so was able to death warp back to town, and is on the way to Veil 2. Really, really exciting part of the game. Meanwhile, Matrick, nice! Takes down Electram. So, neither player choked. Ooh, Red got a pretty bad death right there. Not really bad, but pretty bad. That's going to make up a surprising amount of time for Matrick, because I think he might actually get to this checkpoint before Red is past it, which will put them both on the same checkpoint, which is really interesting. Oh my gosh, Red is trying to do a trick right now, but there's too many bugs on screen, and the bugs are shooting Red with bug bullets, and it's preventing him from doing the trick he wants to do. Okay, he made through it, though. However, they're still the players are like really, really close because Magic is coming up on that trick right now. Basically, there's these fans that push you up, but if you go into the bottom of it, you can tap these little toes on the fan, which restores your jumps and allows you to jump back up, which is not the intended way to solve that, but it's faster and easier. So red is coming up to, we talked about damage boosts earlier. This is a chahunky one. This is a huge damage boost. Red is going to come over here, and there's this spinning blade. You're supposed to go to the right here and spend like 40 seconds platforming, but instead red is going to beep, 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 whoop. Oh, missed it that time. Oh my gosh, they're synced. They are synced because Matrick just caught up. So they're both going to go for the damage boost because it's chunky and it's huge. But here, red's going to go for it again here. Hit the spinning blade and go whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, missed it again. It's really precise. Matrick is actually going for a different form of the damage boost where instead of jumping into the spike bar, he's standing over there and getting shot by the bug. The reason that he's doing that, it takes longer, but the bug only does 15 damage to you while the spike strip does 35. Oh my gosh, though, he didn't tank correctly and he got hit by the spike windmill twice and died from it. So now red is back in front after collecting the heart even. The heart makes it a lot more safe. There's a heart over to the right that can restore your health. Matrick is staying risky, not going for the heart because it takes too long. However, now he's got less health to get through this part. Oh my gosh, it's so close. Okay, he's tanking the windmill again. Didn't get hit by it a second time. However, this rock will kill him if it hits him, but he dodges it. Okay. And they're both on the same checkpoint again. They're doing Troll Cave skip now, so this cave we call the Troll Cave because it's very, very difficult. However, we found out that if you enter the cave, exit, and enter again, just like Matrick just did, you can manipulate the rock-throwing lady to do this weird thing with collision in the game, where the rock actually passes through the wall in the time that you're not in the cave, causing it to hit you once you re-enter, and then you can damage boost up to the ceiling of the cave, which is intended for you to backtrack across. But instead of backtracking, we just go up there and we skip the cave. So there you go. Took a few tries, but the Troll Cave is pretty difficult and control you, which is why we called it that. So both players are now fighting Amethyst. Amethyst is a angel with no wings. She has fake wings because she does not have wings for some reason. I forgot why. There's a reason. It's in the game story somewhere. Anyway. Also, isn't she like Ruby's sister or something? I think Amethyst is Ruby's sister, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she chooses one element at a time and attacks you with it. And each time that she chooses a new element, her shield goes down, allowing you to deal 16 points of damage to her. And once, so that means that every time that you see her change phases and then she gets a shield up, that means that the player is doing optimal damage to her and could not be doing the fight any faster. Now, her health isn't a perfect multiple of 16, which means if they miss a little bit of damage, they can still beat the fight in the same number of phases, and it's not that big of a deal. But if they miss too much, then they're going to have to go through another fight. Anyway, red finishes up the fight. Meanwhile, Matrick is doing a very good job keeping right on Red's Toad's tail. And he is now going on to the Sinister Grotto. Sinister Grotto is a really exciting part of the game where it has these switches. So these, oh my gosh, that bad. So these switches, they control the lasers that are around. The lasers will instantly kill you if you touch them. But if you shoot a laser, oh, by the way, after the players defeated Electram, they got the orbs, so they now have ranged attacks. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but they have ranged attacks now. However, okay, so now they're in Sinister Grotto, and the ranged attacks are used a lot here to hit these switches to bring down the lasers. And there's also minecarts, so minecarts are cool. Anytime that a minecart shows up in a video game, I know I'm in for fun. I mean, Donkey Kong, Resident Evil 4, you know, there's just great minecart sequences in all kinds of games. And they're going to go through. So now we have a moment to talk about the outfits. Matrick is jamming the robot outfit. Pretty cool, pretty cool. It is one set. You know, you can just throw on all the robot stuff and it looks pretty good. I think he's using the stone skin so that his skin is gray and matches the robot outfit. So that's a nice touch to it as well. RedsToad is using the Ira skin. So you might be confused as to why they're two different characters. The two characters are identical. It's actually just a cosmetic change. And they play identically. So RedsToad is using the Ira potion to play as that character, and he's got the kind of more yellow skin. I think that's called the Young Demon skin, which looks very good with the red dress. And he's using the bee wings, which match really nicely with Ira's hair and the skin tone. So really, really good color mixture that Red has going on. I wonder, though, if she might confuse Craterack a little bit, and he might think that she's her daughter or something weird like that. I don't know. We'll find out. There might be some weird thing we've never seen before that happens. The Craterack skip. Anyway, the players also... I didn't mention the fact that the players skip a lot of checkpoints in the Sinister Grotto. The reason for that is just that the Sinister Grotto has a lot of checkpoints that are just out of the way. They're out of the way. They take too long to take. So, we skip them. Because they take... Oh! No, but Matrick just, he skipped the save of shame that nobody takes, but then he accidentally hit a spike strip. He hit a spike strip! And so that actually sent him back an extra checkpoint because he didn't take it because it was too far away. Now, in Matrick's defense, nobody takes that checkpoint, even in races. Even if you're doing safe strats, nobody takes that checkpoint. So that's fine. He's probably going to skip it again because nobody takes that checkpoint. And, just get through this part normally this time. There he goes. All right, doing just fine. He's going to be entering the Dark Annihilator now, who Red is fighting. So Dark Annihilator, a lot of multitasking in this fight. Just in that Dark Annihilator likes to throw about 3 attacks at you at once. And then he enrages and starts attacking you with 4 attacks at once. And so you can only damage him with orbs, which means that your pacing on this fight is pretty restricted because orbs don't shoot just as fast as you can mash. Instead, they recharge at a set interval. So you can only deal so much damage to this boss. You can only kill him so fast. And so really, it's pretty simple. Dodge his attacks, dodge the saw blade that goes on the ground, and make sure that that doesn't pin you to the wall with these walls of missiles. Don't let the... okay, you gotta not let those balls hit the ground. He throws those balls out, and if they hit the ground, they carpet the ground in that fire, which does not go away. However, the Dark Annihilator does slowly walk at you throughout the entire fight, so it will eventually be cleared just by being walked past. However, it was pretty late in the fight. Oh no, he's got double fire. This looks really, really bad for Matrick. However, Dark Annihilator is at pretty low health. I think he can clutch it out. I think he's gonna do it. He's gonna have to tank a little bit though because he just can't avoid these attacks anymore with no floor space available left, and he ends up making it through. So that was really, really clutch. Really well played by Matrick, even in the worst of circumstances. So he's moving on to the next part of the game. Red is already on the next part of the game, which is where we combine the 2 mechanics of earlier. We've got not only lasers here with switches to control them, but we've also got mine carts, which we need to navigate through the lasers. So that's a really fun thing. There's some weird switches here. What's interesting is that you'll notice when the balls hit the wall, they've got, when you got your balls to the wall, they have this huge blast back on them, and that blast back actually has a hitbox and damages things, or activates switches. So there are a lot of switches here that you can actually activate by shooting the wrong parts of the walls and stuff. Or on the left right here, we see Matrick. He shoots down and right there, which because the walls are so thin and that switch is in such a weird spot, the diagonal blast actually hits the switch through the wall, allowing you to get through that checkpoint much, much easier than the intended strat. Oh my gosh, Matrick takes that part kind of weirdly, but that's interesting. There's a pixel alignment you can do to make that part a little bit easier. He's also skipping checkpoints, of course, because they're too out of the way. And, the runners are pretty accustomed to these checkpoints at this point. However, I mean, if something bad happens, it's a race. And so I would not blame anybody for taking safety checkpoints. Uh-oh. Oh, no! Red just tried to shoot at a switch and missed it, and then tried to shoot at the switch. He had to do kind of a weird jump to get back to the spot where he needs to hit the switch again because he missed it the first time, but the jump was weird, and he ended up hitting a spike. So Matrick is Matrick hit some spikes there. Oh no! Oh my gosh, Matrick has been skipping more checkpoints than I thought he was. And And that was a really brutal death that he just took on those spikes. So the Sinister Grotto has been giving these players quite the business here. Red is on Terravine now. The gimmicky, fun thing about Terravine is that he has basically 6 attacks, followed by a giant face laser that kills you in 1 hit if it hits you. However, you can interrupt the face laser by throwing one of these mine carts at him, or if his health is low enough, just killing him. So we see it right now, and boom, Red throws the mine carts at him to stun him out of that attack. Now, you only have to hit him with 1 mine cart, but because Red is confident in the amount of damage that he's doing, he's going to send all 3 mine carts at him at once because they do a little bit of bonus damage, and he has enough damage where he's actually going to kill the boss before he even does the face laser the second time. Right there, he started to charge up the face laser for the second time, but he was too close to death, and Red just took him out. This is really bad. Matt, you're dead again. Oh no. Matrick is having a very, very rough grotto. Here's some frustration orbs that he's throwing out. This is really, really rough. So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. There's a bunch of saves in this area that nobody takes, even in races, but I wouldn't blame anybody for taking the saves, because it's a race, and these kinds of problems just you can't let them stack up too much. So Matrick is having a really rough grotto. However, I mean, these players are at a really similar skill level, and so even though this looks really, really dire for Matt, honestly, same thing could happen to Red in just a couple saves here, you know? There are some really, really brutal saves coming up for Red. There are some really brutal bosses in this game, and Red could easily get stuck for a long time as well. Matrick makes it through the checkpoint that he's been stuck on this time. He's not quite at the checkpoint yet. He's got to make this last really scary jump, but I think he's got it. He's got it right here. There he goes. Now, just don't skip this checkpoint, Matrick. I know some other people skip this checkpoint. Don't skip it. There you go. All right. I think he might have skipped that one. Yes, he died right there last time, but he hadn't taken the save that he was just on, so. Yup. Yes, the tilt factor. Yeah, this video game, it gives you the business sometimes. Sometimes it just takes you to Suplex City. So Red is on the Underworld. He is about to pick up the new platforming mechanic of the game, and this new mechanic is the Dash Wing. So the wing What is Red doing right now? Okay. Red was in like a weird funk there where he didn't seem to know where he was for a moment, but he's regained. He's regained. So now this this Conving is harassing him so badly, but he won't kill it. Pacifist strats all the way. So these Dash Wings, when you pick one up, you're able to hit the flutter key, and you will get a 8-directional burst of speed. So whichever of the 8 directions that you're holding, you'll get a quick burst of speed in that direction when you hit the flutter key, and that is cool. And it's fun, and it's a platforming mechanic that is in the rest of the Underworld here. So right here, just like that on red screen. Matrick coming on Terravine now. We'll see how aggressively he takes these minecarts. We'll see how aggressively he takes the boss. It's one of those things. It's so difficult in a race to know how to behave, because it's like if you're Matrick. Oh, he's dead. He accidentally got hit by a spore. Okay, this is really, really brutal, because he got hit by a spore, which puts you to sleep, and when you're sleeping, you can't hit the reset key. So he had to sit there and wait for Terravine to kill him. And he couldn't even kill himself because the restart key doesn't work during that time. So, oh my gosh. It happened to him again. I think, Matt, he's taken the spores a little bit too aggressively. He's trying to use the Lust ability to get some extra damage on the spores. However, as we see now, he's taken the spores attack a lot more safely and just shooting orbs. It's less damage, but it's not going to put you to sleep and get your face lasered. Anyway, as I was saying, you have to be of 2 minds on a race. You have to decide, if you're behind, do you have to go safe and make sure that you're not going to become more behind, or are you going to go all out to try to catch up? It's very, very difficult and very stressful. If you guys have never done a race like this yourselves, I mean, it's very, very nerve-wracking, very stressful, and things can go wrong really quickly that never go wrong in a normal run because of the added tension. Oh my gosh, he almost got killed by that Terravine spore. This is actually fine. So Magic, I'm sorry, actually died, but because he already picked up the toolbox, it's fine. In fact, you can even die before you get the toolbox, and as long as it lands on your corpse, you'll still collect it and be able to move on to the underworld. Anyway, RedsToad just went by Craterack, which is a very fun boss fight that hopefully I'll have time to talk to, but for now, Red is already done with it. So while Matrick makes his way to Craterack, Red is making his way to the Ancient Constructs, and in order to do so, he needs to collect these 3 keys, which are all down different pathways. Now, the thing about these pathways are that they've got these checkpoints in them, and they're designed to be difficult one way, then you collect the key, and then they're more difficult returning. However, if you're confident that you're not going to die to the centaurs and to the combat, you can just not take the checkpoints and then death warp back to the fork in the road each time and save a bunch of time. So, pretty cool. Now, also, I should point out that Red is on the way to Ancient Constructs, Matt is on the way to Craterack, and we have seen gaps this big close. They are less than a boss apart, meaning while Matrick was fighting that one boss whose name escapes me, Terravine, while Matrick was fighting Terravine, Red was fighting Craterack. And we have seen a gap that large close down, especially in the late game. So now the dash wings become a little bit more complicated for Red, where they actually have numbers on them. And, well, they became a little bit more complicated earlier, but they have numbers on them, and you can actually get multiple dashes per wing, which is pretty fun and cool. So Red is on his way now to the Ancient Constructs area of the game, which is really cool, and we'll have to talk about some stuff. So remember damage boosting? I don't think that the players have damage boosted in a while, so just remember that that's a thing, okay? Also remember that when you take a checkpoint, it kills all of the enemies on the screen. It's very important. Sometimes you don't want to do that. But first, Red is putting all of their dashing skills to the test in order to outrun that Craterack spawn, and is making it through my worst checkpoint of the game. I swear, this checkpoint that Red is on right now is like the hardest checkpoint in the game. You have to navigate your way through these black holes that suck you in and kill you instantly. There's combat, and then at the end, you have to do this really precise jump around these portals that'll kill you in one hit. Red is doing an interesting strategy, though, where he actually conserved... You're supposed to use your flutter to get up between that first little gate of portals, but instead, he did like a weird strat to just go by without using the flutter, and then he could use it to more safely get up at the top. But it's tough to do. It's a little janky. Wow, both players got the really fast thing that Matrick just did also, so that's cool. Anyway, check out this damage boost. Boop, boop, whoop. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't think that was gonna go. I thought he was going down too quickly. Anyway, so that was the Ancient Constructs boss fight. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a really insane boss fight where you just lure a conving over to the boss, and then you damage boost over the trigger that starts the boss fight. And then you don't have to fight the boss. So that's Ancient Constructs for you. It's the only skippable boss in the game, but it is a boss that's able to be skipped, so that's fun. Meanwhile, Matrick is fighting Craterack. Red is going to be coming up to the library skip, so I hope you guys aren't sick of damage boosts, because here comes another juicy one. He's he's not doing the damage boost. Okay, well, I hope you guys also aren't sick of the dashing flutter wings, because, here comes a juicy one of those. He's going to come over here. Oh, wait, he's doing something really weird here, but okay, he's going to collect that and then go whoop, up to the left. Wow, just barely made it with enough height to get up there. You're supposed to dash up and right there and do like a stealth section in the game, but who likes stealth sections in games? So instead, we dash up and left, and jump up to a spot that you can't even see, but it's up there. And because of how level design works, you know, and it loops around, Solgren, like, tried to be clever and design it so that it looped around so that if you fail, you'd be like, oh, wow, look at where I am. But instead, that just means that we can jump up there and skip the stealth section of the game. So, you know, taste it, game designers. Now, Red is on the most difficult auto-scrolling section of the game, which is called the Elevator. Meanwhile, Matrick had a very nice Craterat kill, so he is well on his way to an Ancient Construct skip of his own. And then Red is just moving up here. He's done the little bit of Metal Gear Solid. He's got a little bit of bullet hell here going on. You know, you guys have heard this before, but some of you are new. Some of you don't know what's on the top of the elevator. After all of this trouble, what awaits you at the top? Could it be a treasure chest? Could it be the end of the game? Could it be... Oh, too late. Oh, 2 skeletons. 2 skeletons. It couldn't even be 1 skeleton. It's got to be 2. So you fight 2 skeletons. Those things are really, really, really difficult for a long time in the game until you get used to them. Once you get used to skeletons, you can start kind of manipulating their AI. But before you kind of learn to manipulate their AI, they are just very confusing and kind of frustrating, honestly. Red is going to do a little bit of AI manipulation here on the convicts. Uh-oh, that was really bad. Okay, so what happened there was Red did a little bit too much AI manipulation on the convicts and slowed down too much, allowing the convict to catch up to him. So when he had to land on that crumbly bit to slide under it, the convict hit him at the same time, boosting him upward a little bit. And then when he landed back down to slide, the crumbly bit was gone because it crumbled. So then he fell in. And this is a fun game. It's my favorite game of all time. All right, so Red is on Miyogi 2. Get ready for some juicy strats here. So here's the deal with Miyogi 2. Every time that you hit her, she puts a shield up. If you hit her while her shield is up, you heal her. So you can only deal so much damage to her at once. Now, every 8 times that you deal damage to her, she gets stunned, giving you a chance to hit her into the lava. You can hit her into the lava for a big boost of damage. That's pretty cool. Now, another thing is that once she gets to 40% health, once she gets below 40% health, she will enter an enrage phase where she becomes invulnerable and starts this like 40-second long nightmare of an attack. But what's Red gonna do? What's Red plotting? What devilish, sinister plot does Red have? Right? Oh, that might have been too early. Let's find out. What was it? Oh, he nailed it! Oh, that... You sneaky devil, RedsToad. What Red did was Red combined the mechanics of the stun and the heal and healed Miyogi 6 times, which 6 times lined her health up just right so that when he put her under 40% health, he was able to stun her just as she tried to enrage, which skipped her entire 40-second long enrage attack and also made her forget to do the thing that makes the rest of the fight more difficult. So that also makes the rest of the fight just generally easier. So nailing the Miyogi skip, first try in a race, gets down Miyogi 2 first try in a race. That's fantastic. As we've seen in the past, Miyogi 2 has been one of the biggest defining factors in these races. The Miyogi 2 fight has been one of the most clutch, important parts of the race. So very good on Red to get that through first try. Matrick is going to have to get it first try as well to keep up, and then hope that Red screws up somewhere else just a little bit later. That's right. Don't tell on me. There we go. Just one of those for you. So RedsToad. Oh, I missed the password. Okay, I'm going to assume that RedsToad is a god gamer and got the password the first try. Again, that's just another thing that Matrick is going to have to keep up on. Whoa! Matrick just did the craziest strat I've ever seen! That was insane! Why have I never seen that before? Okay, I gotta take notes on that one. I want everyone to take notes on that one. Anyway, oh gosh, that really, woo! It's getting hot in here. Oh, man. All right, so Red is onto the chambers now. This is the ceiling room. So this is kind of funny. Matrick is going upward right now, hindered by the slowness of the elevator. RedsToad is going down, trying to keep up, trying to outrun the falling ceiling. So it's a little bit of role reversal going on here. Anyway, Red is on the chambers. The chambers is a really, really fun section of the game where you can hit these switches that what's the word? Reverse the polarity on the switches or on the spikes here. Kind of like those things that are in that one game, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. That's the one. Anyway, that's not really relevant. Anyway, Red is making it through the chambers. He's doing a good job. Matrick is on the grabby hand section, making his way. This is the last checkpoint before Miyogi 2, so he's probably really mentally preparing himself for this Miyogi 2 skip. He's really got to get it. I wonder if he's been seeing the stream and if he knows where Red is at, but it seems like a lot of people don't watch the restream, or they don't inform themselves as to where their opponents are. So Red could have manipulated the... Okay, Magic is playing it very, very safe with the healing. You only have to hit her twice, but just to be safe, he's gonna like overheal her. He took an early hit there and decided to just mulligan it. I agree with that decision. Getting hit by her fireball right away is super brutal. It does a lot of damage. The fireball does, I think, 25 damage total. And so, yeah, getting hit by it right away. Mulligan, don't lose so much time by getting far in the fight and then just running out of health, you know? Anyway, RedsToad is now on the Twin Orcs. The Twin Orcs is a lovely, wonderful boss fight where you get to dance with these two lovely orc ladies to a bumpin' soundtrack. However, instead of doing the dance on the platform, Red is going to confuse the heck out of these orcs by fighting them off of the platform, gaining him optimal damage and finishing this boss much, much quicker than it was intended. This is called the Twin Orcs Quick Kill, and it is insanely difficult to pull off. Dropping, oh my gosh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Like, oh man, that Orcs Quick Kill. Meanwhile, Matrick nails the Miyogi quick kill or skip for himself. So Matrick nailed Miyogi, and is going on very, very quickly in the race, and also got the skip. Basically beat Miyogi first try because first try, you know, he mulliganed quickly enough to not really lose it. That was basically first try. So good job on Matrick for that. RedsToad did not gain any time on it for that. And I hope Matrick does the quick kill on the Twin Orcs as well so that I can talk about it a little bit more, because basically hanging off of the edge like that and fluttering really is very, very difficult, because falling off, it's kind of like when you are swimming in Super Mario Bros. And even though your entire Mario isn't underneath the stage, it kind of sucks you in and kills you before you're completely submerged. And that part kind of does that to you. If you drop just slightly too much, the death barrier is a little higher than you expect. V's toes touch the death barrier before her head goes underneath the screen, and you just kind of get sucked in and die. So it's really, really precise to kill the boss in that way. Anyway, RedsToad is now on the Path of Decay, which is the most difficult platforming section of the game, as it should be, because it's also pretty much the last platforming section of the game. And, you know, the game has a proper difficulty curve. Who'da thunk? Wow, okay, that was a tricky little worm kill there that Red got at the end, but ended up making it through. And yeah, as Shark is saying in the chat here, the last bosses are famously choky. Azrael is a nightmare for racers. There have been a lot of races that have been maybe this far apart, and the person who's in the lead just just can't handle the amount of business that Azrael throws their way, and the race ends up getting synced up, and it's really a sight to behold. So, not to like curse Red or anything, but we will see what happens on the Azrael fight. That was kind of a weird strat that Red just did on the Bone Snake there, but I approve. It's dash approved. It looked safe enough. Does Matrick do, I was talking about pacifism strats here. Okay, looks like he got hit and he's gonna, oh no, okay, he's doing pacifism strats. He's just giving the skeletons a little bit of sass. However, in giving them all the sass, he also just got hit a little bit and decided to mulligan the attempt. What I mean by pacifism strats, wait, is he fighting them or not? I can't tell, because he actually stopped to hit one a couple times. Like, I can't tell if he's... Oh, he's just trying to kill them while he moves forward so he doesn't lose any time. He's trying to kill them in a way that doesn't lose any time compared to pacifism strats, which is pretty cool, and it looks like he did a pretty good job of it on that attempt. Meanwhile, Red is on the Gauntlet, the famous Gauntlet, which is pretty difficult. It's 4 screens. You know, you got a little bit of rock throwing wenches. We got the brute here. We got the suiciding centaur, and then we got 2 more rock throwing wenches right here. So the whole gang really showed up here right at the end of Path of DK. And now Red is making it onto Azrael. I'm really glad that Matrick is also doing the Twin Orcs quick kill here. This is fantastic. Now Azrael is a heck of a boss. First of all, Azrael's shield pops up when you strike her, as you notice. She's got this blue shield that grows as you attack her, and it dies down over time. If you deal too much damage to her in a short amount of time, the shield grows too large and it turns red, and actually she becomes invulnerable during the time that the shield is red, and it takes longer for the red shield to die down than it would if it stayed blue. So you end up losing damage, losing time if you red shield her. Meanwhile, though, she's got all kinds of business happening to you. You've only got so many platforms that you're on to fight her on, and she drops the platforms at will randomly, and you have to re-raise them by hitting these lost souls that are floating around. She shoots these purple shards at you, which use this like giant sine wave they come at you in. And the sine wave is like, it's really big and they move really slowly. So even though they look kind of easy to dodge because they move slowly, they move in such a weird pattern that they end up covering pretty much the entire screen in their overall path. Which, oh no, that's exactly what we're talking about. Red just had a huge, painful Azrael death that cost him about 1.5 minutes there. So that is really, really huge. If Magic can take out these orcs and get going on Path of Decay, that's really big. Now, also, Azrael sets these circles of red shards around you. And one thing that I didn't talk about was the demon form. In the Path of Decay, you pick up the ability to hold down the flutter key, and that puts you in this demon form where you have free form flight until you run out of meatball gas, and then you run out of it. So you hold down the flutter key and you get meatball. Now, she puts these red shards around you that only have 1 gap in them, right? And so you have to go into, you don't have to go into space meatball form, but it's the most, excuse me, I'm hiccuping. It's the safest way to do it. You move toward the gap and they close in when you hit the attack key. So you go into Space Meatball, move toward the gap, hit the attack key, and that closes those in. Which means that you have to stop what you're doing when she does this, and then fly around. The thing is, Azrael, she's just got you tied around her little finger. She's got you tied right around her pinky finger, and she says, at this point, you need to stop what you're doing and fly in these 2 specific directions in order to not take damage. And so that can just be a huge detriment when you're trying to spread out your damage, because you're trying to spread out your damage to her so that you don't red shield her. And so it's so neat. Okay, Red took her out this time. Meanwhile, Matrick is working on catching up, going through the Path of Decay here. Red is making his way through the Heart of the Baneful, which is basically, Path of Decay Part 2. except it's very, very short. Just a little bit of preamble to the last boss. Oh, wow, Magic used a pretty cool strat there that I haven't seen also. Maybe I have seen it. I don't know. Anyway, so they are both just doing some platforming here, and boy, these last couple bosses are really, really intense, and so we will see what happens from now on, because it really could still go either way. Like, I'll be real, though. I'm not sandbagging. Red is going to have a pretty bad last couple bosses, but the thing is, it wouldn't be the first time. I can remember a time where I was on PB pace, and I choked on J2 for 15 minutes. Now, of course, that was a particularly bad case, but still, J2 has a way of getting inside your head and making you believe that you are nothing to, and that all was for naught, and that you will never defeat him. I don't know why I said defeat the first time. I just, words are hard sometimes. All right, so Red is coming up to Jaul. This is the main enemy of the game. This big bad guy, he's the guy from the beginning that caused all this problem for you in the first place. So how Jaul works is he's got this yellow bar that fills up if you touch the yellow cloud on top of the screen, or if you touch the the yellow skull that is floating around that you can kind of bat away with your melee or your orbs. And as that yellow bar fills up, he becomes faster and his attacks deal more damage to you. If it fills up all the way, he enters this terrible 20 to 30 second attack where he becomes invulnerable and heals himself for a while and just wastes a bunch of your time. Ooh, Red just got levered up into the, you know what? I just found out what it's called. Gymnasts have, okay, Red got a really nice Jaul kill. Gymnasts have like a seesaw that they jump on with each other to launch each other into the air, and it has a name. I just found out about it on Jeopardy last night, and I can't remember. So even though I think that watching game shows will fill my head with trivial information and make me seem smart, it turns out that I'm just gonna forget it all. Anyway, is Red on PB pace? Red is on 4-minute PB pace? That's awesome. So Red is now getting into the final boss. This is Supreme Jaul, the coolest, best boss of any game ever. This is the best boss of any game ever. So how Jaul works is there's 2 platforms that you can fight him on, and he is so evil that just being around him burns your angel flesh, causing a type of poison type damage to you. And to mitigate that, Fiola flies from platform to platform, dropping these health orbs for you to pick up, not to heal you from accidental damage, but just to mitigate the sin burn. So that is a really interesting way that the fight just gets you to keep having to hop back and forth between the 2 platforms. Meanwhile, Jaul is moving back and forth either on the sides of the platforms or in between them. He moves all around the fight, and a huge part of this fight is just keeping tabs on where he is, what he's doing, where he's going next, and when he's going there. It's so very important so that you don't get unexpectedly lasered, unexpectedly headbutt by him. Any of his attacks are extremely dangerous if you don't see them coming. Right there, Red just got headbutt out of nowhere because he didn't specifically anticipate that happening. So now, Supreme Jaul is at 40% health, so he enrages as well, and all of his attacks become more fearsome. So now, when he shoots his laser out, he comes back down with it, and you have to dodge it twice. When he does his bite attack like this, he spawns a worm now that you have to destroy immediately, or it will completely just Shrek you. When he shoots out the grapes, the purple orbs, he shoots out 2 of them, so you gotta dodge them twice. It's just this insane game that really puts all of your skills to the test, and it takes 100% complete concentration to not choke on this fight. Red is cutting it very, very close with a very small amount of health, but he nails it. Absolutely nails it. Pulls through with, I believe, a huge PB. He is going to hurriedly run to the submit screen here in order to submit his new PB. I think that's fantastic. I'm really excited to see just how much he PBs by. But this is a race PB. That's so cool. Sub 50 also. Sub 50. If you guys are running this game, sub 50 is a huge. It's so huge that the H has been taken out. It is a huge milestone for players. So that's really, really exciting for Red. He did it in a race as well. Just thrived under pressure and pulled out a really, really great run. And what's really cool about this kind of run too is that Red is going to be able to look back on this run and is going to be able to say, wow, look at all the times I died in Sinister Grotto. Look at the time that I died to Azrael. And he's going to be able to say, wow, I finally got sub 50. That's a huge milestone, but look how much room there is for improvement. And he's going to be chasing, you know, the next milestone. That sweet, sweet sub 45. Meanwhile, Matrick takes down Azrael. Very nice. It can be so easy for Azrael to just go completely out of control and completely just take your run out from under your feet. But Matrick gets through Azrael. He's making his way to the last boss. That jump is so difficult. Matrick is loading his game again. I wonder if that's like a performance thing. Maybe maybe like his game starts running poorly if he doesn't go back to title screen or something like that. I don't know. This game's got some quirks to it, and everybody seems to have their own problems with it, kind of. But there's like a way to fix it. I don't know. Nothing is too severe. It's just the game's a little silly sometimes. All right, so the old... Wait a second. Red, why isn't Red submitting his time? Red. Red's not submitting his time. I'm going to pull Red into the interviewer here. And we'll see if he wants to do a winner's interview. But I'll leave that up to him. Red, hello. I see you're here. Red, submit your time. Please submit. That was a PB, right?
I submitted already. Why are you panicking?
Oh, you did submit. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I panicked.
The first thing I did, I can't not submit this run.
Yeah, I heard you got a chunky PB. A big race PB.
Well, that was an amazing run.
Yeah. Yeah, that run was really, really good. You certainly thrived under pressure and just crushed it. You crushed it. Played better than you ever have before when you were under pressure. That's a huge deal.
Thank you.
So, that said though, so it was a chunky PB. I'm sure you feel good about that. Do you have another milestone in mind? Are you going for sub 45 or are you going modest and you're going to say let's shoot for sub 47 first?
Sub cake, obviously.
Sub cake. Oh, shooting for the moon. You know, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land upon the stars. That's what they say, right?
That's a good saying.
You'll land on Mars and make a friend with the face. So, that said though, I mean, what are you looking at on your run? Some chunks in this run. You've got some big time to save. What are you looking at on your splits and thinking you can definitely do better next time?
Definitely terrifying.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're definitely terrifying. Well, more the platforming parts.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, you guys both had a pretty rough Sinister Grotto.
Sinister Grotto is horrible. So many skips are saved in depth.
Matrick had a really nice shot there, but shot that spike just over J1's head. So that should have been a double headshot, but he shot it just too high. That's rough.
I hate when he ducks under spikes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when he like ducks down to jump and he just
Yeah.
goes right under your spike. It's like, get out of here. Get out of here, you cheeky you little ripper.
Well, that race was a bit closer than I expected.
So you nailed Miyogi 2 skip your first try, so now you're gonna have to do that every time.
Also, Twin Orcs, quick kill, that was also good.
Yep. Yeah, so
Somehow
your mid game is really strong, but yeah, your early game in and then your late game with your Azrael was also a bit improvable. So you're gonna have a tough mid game to keep up with, but
for sure.
you've definitely got time to save, and I look forward to seeing that. All right, so Matrick is coming up on Supreme Joul here. I didn't quite get to all of his attacks. I kind of touched on most of it. One thing I didn't really talk about, though, was I only talked about Fiola. There are two. There are two other angel friends. Wait a second. No. There's two angel friends. Fiola isn't an angel. She's a fairy. So there's two angel friends as well as the fairy Fiola. And how they work is every time that Supreme Joul goes up and he says that thing, he says like you will perish or something, he's about to dive down. And when he does that, Amethyst makes an ice trap on the ground that allows you to have Joul dive down onto it, trap him, and get a bunch of extra damage in on him. And that's where a big bulk of damage comes out on this attack. We'll see it right here. Oh! Yeah, just like that. So the other thing is that when he goes down, and he says his favorite thing. Oh, he said it! Ira goes and she makes a shield for you. And if you're not in that shield, that attack basically one-shot. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. That was the luckiest. Oh, no, but he did the thing. Joul's going crazy. He's going absolutely mad. Somebody contain this boss. It's broken. So if you enrage Joul at a weird time, he just kind of freaks out. And I noticed both of you did the quick enrage on him and just allowed him to freak out. Matrix's freak out was a little weirder than though. He went like inside the platform and then tried to shoot out balls, but they just hit the platform right away. But then he like backflipped or front flipped straight into Matrix's face. Alright, so it looks like Matrick, as long as he gets this health orb, oh, he nailed it. Matrick also pulls out a victory in the end with a 56-56 on the RTA, but more like a 55-15 in-game time. Good run, sub 1 hour. Unfortunately, not enough to win this race, but a good run nonetheless. Matrick, I see that you're here. How do you feel? But then he like backflipped.
I didn't have it. I haven't had it.
Matrick, I need you to mute your OBS. So it looks like Matrick, as long
mute
as
your
he
desktop audio
gets
on
this
OBS,
health
please.
orb, oh, he nailed it. Matrick also pulls out a victory in the end with a 56-56 on the.
I just don't have it, dude. I haven't had it. I haven't had it for a couple days. It's been major.
Good run, sub 1 hour.
And
unfortunately,
that's all right.
Not
Whatever.
enough to win.
Good game,
this
RedsToad.
race.
I told you you were going to win before.
Matrick, I see that you're here. How do you feel?
I haven't played. I haven't been able to do anything.
Oh,
but hey,
Patrick,
I just want to point out, I
mute
called
your
that I was
OBS.
going to flutter under the
Mute your
platform
desktop
in
audio
library,
on
and I
OBS,
did
please.
it.
Ah, nice. Yeah. So yeah, it was a pretty rough run. We noticed you skipped a lot of saves in Sinister Grotto.
That's normal. I don't understand what happened. I always do that, and it just like I said, it wasn't there. I could not play.
Now, did you skip the save after the minecart? You know where you ride the minecart through the spike
I
cave?
always skip that save.
Okay.
I always do that. I only grab the yellow save at the bottom. It's like a 1 second time save, but I do it anyway because I never have problems with the platforming. And for whatever reason, like I said, I couldn't play. I couldn't play.
You know, it
I've
happens.
tried.
I mean,
I've been mental blocked so bad for all week.
Races are super rough because they're high anxiety, they're high stress, and also the big thing about it is that you only get one shot. I mean, when you sit and jam RTA attempts all day, sometimes you have a really rotten run, but it's just a time attack, you know. But when it's a race, it's got to be that one every time, and it's stressful. And this is this is one of the times that unfortunately it looked pretty rough. However, you did still end up with a sub 1 hour time, which is decent. It's decent.
That's no longer decent to me. No,
It's
I
it's
don't.
gonna be pretty tough to keep up in the tournament, but
No,
yeah.
I'm already done at this point. I mean, there's no bracket stage for me, not anymore. So, whatever.
Well, it was a good race. It was really fun to watch because there was a lot of times where Metric, you did a lot of risky strats and a lot of little time saves that Reds wasn't doing. So there were a lot of times where it was like, here's where Metric is catching up. You know, he's saving time here, here, and here. And so at any time, if Reds makes a big mistake, Metric could catch up. However, it just kind of didn't really happen. Reds just kept jamming a really, really great run the whole time and ended up with a big chunky PB. So it's really, really difficult to compete when somebody PBs on a race. So it was a really fun race to watch. I hope you guys had fun, and I hope everybody at home had fun watching it. Make sure to follow the runners here, and you know, you can follow me on commentary if you want to. You know, I have fun commentating these runs, and I like doing streams as well. But other than that, thanks to Speed Gaming for keeping all this together. And we do have some races coming up as well. So let me just pop on over and let you guys know what's coming up soon. On the Wings of V tournament, tomorrow, we've got a race at 12:30 Eastern time, which is going to be Ziggy versus Kale. And then we've got a race at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is one of the most hype races in the whole tournament. Cake versus Shark. Our number 1 player versus our number 2 player are going to be going head to head tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to be huge. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm So Lewd versus Fraslow are going to go at it as well. So this is a really good race. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have yourselves a good night.